Welcome back to another episode of It's the Wide World with Quartz. Thank you so much for joining us. Episode 2. Who knew we'd make it this far? I did. That's who. That's me. Today we got a great episode for you. I'm really excited about this one. I'm always going to be really excited. Okay, heads up for the future of this podcast, this series. If you do decide to travel with me on this journey, discovering the world through each individual person, that I will always be excited about the people we have on. And today we have a great guest. The guest we have in particular is David James Young. That's right. If you're not aware of who this gentleman is, this guy is a legend in the Australian music scene. Well, Sydney music scene, I should say. He is quite well known throughout the States. Everyone has seen him at a gig once or twice. If you've been to a local show in Sydney, or let's say in Brisbane, not as many, or in Melbourne, maybe not as many, you would have seen this gentleman. He is an absolute beautiful human being, one of the nicest people you could ever meet. If you don't ever feel safe at a show, you could talk to him. He'll take care of you. He's the nicest person on the fucking planet, I'll tell you that much. But what makes David so interesting, why we got him on here today, is because last year he recorded every single gig he went to. And the amount of shows he went to over, you know what? We're going to leave it there. You're going to have to listen. It's in the first 10 minutes of the episode, but I'm telling you right now, whatever you guess it's going to be, whatever you think it just might be, it's more than that. It's more than that, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't get over it when he said the final number and put it down right in front of me. I was like, oh my God, David. That's a lot. But no, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good episode, genuinely. I had a massive, great chat. I could have probably talked to him for another 2 hours on top of this. This is so far the longest episode that we've done. It's just under 2 hours. And I was trying to be so aware of time because, believe it or not, he had a gig to go to that night. But honestly, it was just great bands. We talk about live gigging in Sydney, the vibes, what's better, big shows or small pubs, and also we talk about, and I really love this part of the episode. I listened back to it earlier today, and we talk about the floor collapsing at the Genesis Owusu show at the Enmore Theatre last year, and how what actually happened. I know people that have videos of it, and I've seen videos and stuff, but I've not heard anyone's story about how it happened. So David shares us the epic tale of that fateful night at the Enmore Theatre. So thank you so much for catching this episode, sticking around, and yeah, I hope you love it as much as I did. I'll see you soon, right after this.
What's up, Doc?
Woohoo! A 4-day weekend.
Beautiful day for fishing.
Hi. Welcome, David. Thank you so much for being a part of this little episode of It's the Wide World with Quartz.
Thank you very much for having me.
I am absolutely delightful to have you on here.
You are absolutely delightful. I agree.
Oh,
more and more people are saying it.
About time they did.
I know, right? Put some respect on the name, man. Honestly.
No, but I genuinely I'm really, really happy that I could get you to be a part of this, because I remember the first moment I had an interaction with you.
Do you? Because yeah. I don't. I'm so fucking bad with this shit.
But the amount of people that I know that know you, or know of you in some way.
Oh, that's a distinct fucking difference. Let's get that out of the way first
100%.
thing. There are people that come up to me that are like, I've seen you at every gig I've ever been to. And I'm like, I've never seen you before in my life.
Well, granted, that's kind of how I got to know you.
Are you like Spider-Man? Fucking hiding up in the fucking corner? Just how are you seeing me? But I get it. I'm 6'5" both ways. But I'm not fucking stealth. It's just big fucking bumbling fucking Andre the Giant fucking idiot over there.
Well, but sometimes in those rooms, it is stealth.
Maybe. A big arenas or whatever, but yeah, it's just I saw you with the Lansdowne. It's yeah, no shit. Put 20 people watching the opener at 8:30, and yeah, you notice the big fucking giant cunt in the corner, right? Yeah.
I mean, every time, because I feel I have a similar vibe to you at shows. Get there early, watch every band, at least participate in most things, and I'm always oh, that's David. That's cool.
Yeah,
I'll go over and say hey to him at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, if you do see me, please do. I'm generally quite nice. I like to think. I like to think I'm absolutely delightful.
You really, really are. Like I was saying, the first time I met you is after.
No, sorry about that.
No,
yeah,
no,
fucking
cool.
tell me, please.
It's cool.
Fucking tell me, because I need to know.
It was straight after churches at the Opera House.
Churches,
Yeah.
yes, indeed.
And
I remember this.
Yeah, and I saw you hug. I always forget his name.
Dave LePepe.
Yes,
Yes.
from Gang of Youths. And me and my friend was just like, that dude just walked up to him and they both hugged. Like, it wasn't one that was participating.
Yeah, it wasn't me just fucking crash tackling some random fucking
and
dude.
it was a hug. Like, it was a bear hug. It was beefy and
Yeah.
stuff. And then we're just like, that's kind of cool. And then I remember just being like, I saw David run out, like, from Gang of Youths.
Yeah.
And
I actually remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, me and my friend were in Runro, and then Dave and his then girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, now wife, he had to break up with her in order to marry. Yeah, you know how things
It's a
work.
struggle, yes.
Yeah. So ex-girlfriend, now wife. So they were in the row in front of us, and yeah, like we caught up briefly afterwards, and like fucking, he was just like, we just found out all this shit about my dad and like my extended family and shit. Like we're heading over to New Zealand tomorrow to meet some of my like
Oh my
extended
God.
Yeah. Like this is all shit that ended up on the most recent Game of Years record,
that's
Angel
pretty
and
much the
Milton.
thesis of the album,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it?
So like this had just happened at this point, and so like he was like telling me about all this shit. I'm just like, dude, that's fucking crazy. And then naturally, Dave is also a dude that can't fucking be mistaken for anyone else because
No.
he's like the giant fucking Samoan rugby player.
He's
you
also
know?
like drop dead gorgeous.
I mean, yeah,
like,
totally.
Yeah.
I've always compared our friendship to like you know what Saved by the Bell is, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so like he's Zach and I'm Screech.
I could see that.
Like,
Yeah.
so he's like the most popular fucking kid in school and I'm the weird fucking nerd and we're friends for some reason and it's never explained why.
I won't even lie. That's what made that hug stand out. Just being like,
You're just like, who is this fucking commoner talking to the most famous person in Australian music?
like literally,
Who is
because
this fuckwit?
because that was definitely like they are still at the peak, you know, on the Mount Rushmore of Australian music right now.
Oh, man, yeah.
At that point, that was like straight after Further and Lightness. They did the shows at the Enmore.
Yeah,
like,
man. Yeah,
they
that
were
was a
selling
wild
out
ride.
everywhere, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
it was like a really meaningful hug, and it was beautiful. And then
Yeah,
we're just
it was
like,
beautiful, man. Yeah,
but
like-
then we noticed who it was, and we're like, holy shit.
It's a peasant.
But I remember,
How did he touch the hem of his garment?
I remember straight up being like, I didn't even say hello to you. I was like, did you just hug David from Game of Years? And you're like,
oh my God. I've told this story so many times and I didn't realize that it was you. Because like, this is how like fucking disconnected I am, like just from that kind of immediate reality of like him being super famous and recognizable and shit. Like I knew like people would come up and ask for photos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, whatever. He obliges with a couple of them and then he's just like, all right, we gotta go. I'm just like, yeah, fair enough. He fucking shoots out the corner. I turn around and I remember just some dumbfounded kid just being like, was that Dave LePepe? And without even thinking, I just went, yeah, do you know him?
you did, yeah. And I was like, no.
Just like, yeah. How do you know Dave?
I was like, I haven't even seen King of Youths yet. Like, I was still waiting
You're
for
just
it.
like, I've seen him on TV like everybody else.
Legitimately, 100%. And it was a breakdown of like, because I'm clearly ADHD in a very big aspect. And I saw that and I was like, they must know each other. They must be actual friends. And then being fascinated by like just how nice Dave LePepe
Why?
is. No,
I
like,
need to figure this out.
not even that. That's not why you're here. It's just I like to start the shows with like a bit of a story of context of like who this person is to me in a sense, not to the audience, but just to me.
Yeah.
And I remember then we lost you because like getting out of the Opera House is a nightmare on a sold out show.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just like sardine
packed in
cans.
crazy. Yeah.
And then I ran into you again at Circular Quay, and I was like, "Oh, you're the guy that was like hugging Dave LePepe."
You're that guy.
And I was like, "Dude, what's your Instagram?" And you're like, "Oh, it's this." And like I followed you, and then I started noticing how many shows you went to. And at first I was like, this guy goes to a lot of shows, kind of like me. And I was like, not kind of like me, like a hell of a lot more. And then
it's not a competition, man.
never looked at it like that. I was just like, he goes to a lot of shows. And then I started learning about new bands from from you, and then I started
kidding.
seeing you at
Fucking
shows
A.
and that, like, and I would never put you in the aspect of what a Instagram influencer is, but for Australian music and me, at one point, I got a lot of education from your Instagram feed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's why I was like,
I'm chuffed.
I would love to have you on here and talk to you, because I started learning about how many people knew you, how many bands knew you and stuff, and
man.
did a stalk and see how many bands follow you and like people from those bands. And I was like, God, this motherfucker knows. And then it really hit me at Yours and Ours. I miss seeing clowns. This is the COVID Yours and Ours.
Oh, yeah.
And I miss seeing clowns, and I ran into Stevie, and I was like, and I was a bit stoned, and I went, hey, Stevie, I really fucking love clowns. I think you guys are one of the best punk bands in Australia.
Yeah.
You make me want to throw things. Like, I love your band so much. And he goes, oh, man, thanks. Did you catch the set? And I went, no.
Dude, you just fucking lie. Just straight up lie. Great set, man, is the greatest trick the devil ever pulled. You gotta say that shit. It was fucking great.
On the spot, I felt so bad because like I was just stoned, and I was like, I can't lie right now. I'm very struck at the moment because I genuinely, as a vocalist at the time, I was still singing in bands. And I was like, this is a guy that like I fucking love his voice.
Yeah.
And I went, no, but I watched a lot of it on my friend's feed. I think you know him, David Young, and he went, oh yeah, I know David. Yeah. That's cool. At least you got to say it that way. And he walked away from it. And I went, fuck that up, like completely. But that was the moment I kind of like, it's like, this guy's like not known by people, but he's actually friends with all these different bands and artists and stuff. And
did you come to that private function house show afterwards?
Yeah, you got me there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I remember that. Because, you were just like, drop the addy. I was just like, yeah, fuck it, all right.
Well, because like I've shot for private function 3 times.
Yeah.
And I wrote to Chris being like, Chris Penny, the singer of Private Function, being hey, what's the details of the show? I can't see your stage tomorrow. And he didn't see it and didn't reply. And I was like, this motherfucker must still be driving or be busy. And then I was like, hey, David.
Yeah.
If out of all people, you would know this, right? And you just sent the address and was like, will I see you there? And I was like, yeah, I fucking will.
Yeah, man.
And I remember watching Tones and I, which I'm not a big fan of. And I was sitting in the cold bin like, oh, no, not Tones and I, someone else. It was just between DMAs and Dope Lemon. And I was like,
no clue.
Nah,
it's lost to the sense of fucking time now.
that festival definitely is, yeah. But I remember like I was like, I only wanted to really see Dope Lemon tonight. It's really cold. I'm going. And I just looked at my friends and went, I'll see you guys back at the hotel. And I just walked away, I think it was like 5-6 blocks or something over a highway and everything. And I got there just before they started playing their intro, and which was Joker and the Thief.
Yeah.
And that was like,
that's right.
That was seriously like a Guitar Hero venue like gig, you know, they have like the fairy lights and that,
like the shitty house party,
and it was so like illegally COVID not safe. Like they're pouring whiskey into everyone's mouths and shit. It was one of the best shows I've ever been to in my whole life.
That was a really fun night. Like the rest of the clowns came after that, and like
no way, I took off straight after.
Afterwards,
like
I met the various clowns wags that night who I'm still very good friends with. Cam had just started playing guitar for them because Will had just left. He started terminal sleep, and so met Cam that night and was hanging out with the rest of them. Like met Hoon for the first time that night. Met Private Wives for the first time properly that night.
That night is how I found out about Private Wives, because I didn't get to see them, but I was like, that's a fun name. I want to check them out.
Yeah, that was a fun one, man. Yeah, that was a really good time. Always got love for P-Funk and clowns, and like that whole kind of Melbourne punk vicinity, and it was a good time, man. Fucking oath.
Yeah, man. And then, like, honest to God, it was like the nicest interactions I've had with you. But like the big reason why I want to have a conversation with you today is that I find the fact that you've gone to so many of these gigs to be incredible. Now, I think last year you saw 327 gigs, was it?
Fucking, that is correct, Nardwar.
I've done
how the fuck did you pull that out of your ass?
I've done a little bit of research.
Look, all right. Usually people are just like, oh, it's like 300 something. You got the fucking number. Like, that's fucking all right.
I did a little bit of research before this, and and a little bit of a stalk. I don't have any gifts, so I'm not so Nardwar. But
well, if you if you haven't figured out my mother's maiden name yet, then I'm going to be really
No, I
disappointed.
haven't, I'm sorry.
Well, you're never going to break into my St. George account with that, right? Come on, man. Like, keep up.
that's like, I'm not about St. George. I'm about identity theft, if anything. I've already got the photo to prove it.
Yeah, well, that's why you're growing out the beard.
Yeah, 100%,
yeah. As soon as the hair comes back, it's over for you bitches.
I gotta. That'll be a wig. I'm thinning, but so like that was just 1 year. Do you know how many gigs you've gone to in total?
Absolutely not. I could not begin to fucking tell you, dude.
God damn.
Like I'm sure there will come a time where I will attempt to sit down and figure that shit out, but there are so many like random fucking like tiny youth center things that I went to in Nara and like just random shit like around that I'm no doubt lost to the fucking sands of time now that I will not be able to remember. Like, cause yeah, like my first show was in 2002, right? So like there's a solid chunk in there where I'm just like seen missing. You know? A lot of Brest High School and shit. So like, yeah, no fucking clue for a good chunk of it. I reckon probably the 2010s into the 2020s, I could probably put together a quasi-comprehensive list. But yeah, like kind of like high school, end of high school into uni, like I'd probably be fucked. Like I'm sure there's like old calendars and old shit that I could find. But that's a fucking rainy day project, man.
Yeah, no,
like,
definitely. That's a COVID 2.0 project.
Oh, fuck me. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that evil on me.
But like, okay, so like a big part of this, I really want to talk about shows and your opinion of shows and that. But what was like the first gig you went to?
Jesus Christ, sorry.
That's okay. Bless you, I should say.
Thank you. About time. Put some respect in the name. The first show I ever went to was a band called The Cruel Sea. Tex Perkins, you know him?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was his band after B Suburban split up for the first time. And before he started his solo career in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were kind of like a blues rock, surf rock kind of band. They were most popular circa like 1993. I discovered them because they had a video on Rage, and then I saw their album in a CD store because those things used to exist.
That was a thing.
And yeah, it was a thing. And I liked the cover of their album Over Easy, and I was just like, I would like that one because it was just like, oh, you can get one. That was the thing. You're just like, oh, can I get it? And it's just like your parents were like, oh, you can get one, and you had to fucking stick with that one. You had to fucking stick. You were paying $29.95 for that sucker, so you had to really fucking like commit to this record.
That's
like,
real HMV sanity prices. That one, yeah.
Like there was a little indie one called the Rock Factory where we lived, so like probably got it there maybe. Yeah, definitely Sanity was around, and like a bunch of other shit like that. Redback in Wollongong was going as well. Yeah, so there was a bunch of shit happening. So that's how I discovered them. And yeah, eventually they were playing a show at St. George's Basin Country Club, which is down the coast. It's probably like half an hour from where I grew up in Nara, down the south coast. And yeah, my dad got me into this show. And yeah, it was good fun. Like, I was just so excited, you know, like I remember I couldn't get into actually I'll start again.
That's okay. I'm just real quick. Can I take a video of what my cat's doing with you?
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, that's just adorable. Continue whenever you're ready. He won't attack. He'll just gnaw. I swear to God.
I've got a couple of gnaw bites already.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, you're fine. You're fine, aren't you? There you go.
He's a good boy, man.
Yeah, there you go. Ow.
Rigby.
Naughty. I remember like in between the support act finishing and Cruel Sea coming on, like I just went up to like look at the stage or whatever, and like this security guard was just like, mate, how'd you get in here? I was just like, my dad brought me in here. It's just like, how old are you, mate? I'm just like, I'm 11. So, all right, come with me, and like finds my dad, and dad gets all like, oh, he can't fucking be here, mate. Like this is on like a licensed venue or whatever, and dad fucking sweet talks whoever's running the place to be like, can you just watch from like the mixing desk or whatever? And sure enough, like, yeah, my dad convinces whoever is working at St. George's Basin Country Club to fucking let us stay. And yeah, I just watched the whole thing from the mixing desk. I get like a signed poster and shit, which is still hanging up on my wall. And yeah, I met Jim, their drummer, because like this was back in the time where they would have PO boxes like listed on the liner notes and shit. Yeah. And me being like 9 or whatever, I'm just like, well, obviously I'm going to write to this band because
I did some
yeah,
shit.
What else are they going to be doing?
Well, why do they have it in here?
Yeah. So I sent him a letter, and Jim, their fucking drummer, wrote back, and yeah, like, you know, we had a correspondence for a few years, and that was, you know, super inspiring to a fucking, like, you know, 11-year-old who was just, like, starting to get obsessed with music. I remember about a year or so ago, I was on a date at Petty Cash, the cafe in Marrickville.
Yeah.
And the owner, or one of the co-owners of that, he co-owns it with his wife, is Ken Gormley, who was the bass player in The Cruel Sea.
Oh, that's wicked.
And I clocked it as soon as I walked in. And just as we were like paying and leaving and stuff like that, I just go, hey man, are you Ken Gormley? He's just like, yeah. And I was just like, The Cruel Sea were the first band I ever saw, and he was just like, I am going to be telling everyone about this for the rest of the day. Like, he's just like, I got recognized, you know. He's there week in, week out. Everyone's just like, yeah, 2 coffees, thanks. And I'm just like, The Honeymoon Is Over is a fucking classic. And he's like, yes, thank you. And so it was fucking beautiful, man. Like, he's a really fucking lovely guy. So yeah, like, yeah, Cruel Sea was my first gig, and that was, March 18th, 2002.
I fucking love that you remember the date. That
I've got the poster up on my wall.
No, but I mean, like, that is so cool. Like, and it like, so that's where everything begins, right? Like, you know, slowly but surely the snowball started.
Story, yeah, basically, yeah.
That's wicked. That's absolutely insane. That's a delightful story, man. Like, my first proper concert was the proper concert. Like, I'd seen little things like street things and that, but like something I paid a ticket for and went to was the Wave Aid Festival of the Tsunami Relief.
Oh yeah,
that was the first one I went to. So
was that the one Midnight Oil reunited for?
Midnight Oil did. Silverchair technically did. Powderfinger with a headline and Midnight Oil jumped on. John Butler Trio, Pete Murray, The Waves, Missy Higgins.
I remember the DVD. I think we must have had the DVD or something like that.
It was wild, man. Like, I still have the DVD floating around. Yeah, Finn Brothers, man. Like, he was like the most Australian honor of that time. I think if you threw Wolf Mother into the mix, if they were around, it would have just been.
They would have been, for sure. Yeah.
It would have just blown out. Like, they even had like Nick Chester from Jet.
Cester,
Cester, my bad, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I remember this. Like, yeah, crazy days.
That was the first proper gig I went to.
There you go. That's a big one. Like a big fucking stadium show.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing to kick off with.
I kind of went straight to, like, I'm kind of jealous because, like, now I'm in this prime of my life where I'm like, pub gigs are just so much more entertaining than going to an arena. And I don't know if that's me getting older or if it's just because I've done so many arena and concert and stadium shows before. So like going to like Roundhouse with Slowly last night, I'll just use that as my latest example, was really delightful. And Roundhouse is probably like the biggest, smallest venue in Sydney. Like, it still feels kind of tiny, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like 2,200? Yeah, 2,200 cap.
Yeah, and it still feels like the Wollongong University bar type vibes. It has that like vibe to it. But the night before I was at the Lady Hampshire, I saw Chasing Ghosts, and like that personal vibe is just delightful. Like I really love that. And I got to talk to Jimmy from Chasing Ghosts and talk to the opening acts and that. And I don't know, there's something about a warmth of it. So I'm jealous that your concert going career, if you will, started with like a small venue, getting to sit at the sound desk and that. Like that is an origin story. That's a hero's tale right there.
Yeah, totally right.
I love that shit, man, so much.
I've still been to my fair share of like arena and stadium shows over the years. I can't remember what my first specifically stadium show would have been. Oh God, I can't even think.
I got really lucky.
Must have been like Foo Fighters or something like that. It would have been a long time ago.
I can imagine that.
But I think my first arena show would have been, I reckon it was John Butler Trio playing at the Wynn Entertainment Centre in Wollongong, and that must have been like. It would have been Sunrise Over Sea, and it would have been like, end of 2004, start of 2005, around there. And my mum took me and my brother and my sister. And like that was my first time experiencing like a bigger like spectrum sort of show. And like the Wynn Entertainment has like a tiny, like by arena standards, it's like 5 and a bit cap. But like at the time, you're there like experiencing, especially because you're quite literally so small and everything else just feels so fucking big.
It would have felt massive.
Yeah, totally.
Especially like John Butler Trio in like that's the big album. Like,
Yeah. So they were everywhere at that point. Yeah.
You couldn't go at any street not hearing Zebra at one point.
Yeah. Either coming out of a cafe speaker or some cunt playing it as a busking song.
It was one of my busking catalog songs.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100% when I was a teenager in Penrith.
Fucking muscle. Yeah.
You get money for that. Like at that time, I was like, I fucking love that animal song. Like,
John Butler used to be like the proving ground in high school. It's just like them, like every fucking kid who picked up an acoustic guitar, like trying to fucking show off and get laid, would fucking give their crack at Ocean.
Yeah, 100%. Oh my God, no, I didn't do that. I remember hearing
Ocean was like Through the Fire and the Flames.
Oh my God,
yeah. It's like
beyond.
it's like, what the fuck?
There's so many versions of it, and like you got to kind of pick what you like the most. But like the big thing with that song is that like the techniques that go through it and the time signatures in it and stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's just
yeah. Shit's crazy.
Utterly wild. So yeah, like we talked about like your first gig and that. So and we talked about arena shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you prefer going to a smaller show or do you prefer going to like big fireworks, big lights, video screens and stuff?
I really think it depends on what the artist themselves is going for. And I think it really depends on like where they're at the certain point of their career. Like there are certain artists where they get to a certain point where I'm just like, you need to be playing arenas now. Like this is like the kind of show that you're putting on. Like Gang of Youths is a fucking great example.
Yeah.
Like seeing them, first time I saw them was at Wollongong Uni Bar opening for Cloud Control, playing to roughly 30 odd people. First time I saw Tame Impala was opening for UMI at Wollongong Uni Bar. Opening for roughly 30, playing to like 30 odd people. Yeah, not a fucking laser beam in sight. Like, they didn't have enough songs to fill a whole set, so they covered fucking Remember Me by Blue Boy. Yeah, and that ended up on their EP after that. They had an EP. Like they were over on the East Coast for the first, like that was a novelty. You know?
That
this
was
fucking
huge.
Like
your band has an EP.
About barefoot Frio band fucking opening for UMI, and the last time I saw them was their full laser 90% lasers arena show out at Qudos Bank Arena at Olympic Park.
Yeah, that was on the big shows to get delayed from COVID. Hey, like
multiple
delayed it like
times.
2 years.
Yeah, roughly. I think it was originally Actually,
I know the date.
No, I remember this because it was originally going to be on 420.
Yeah, I was so excited.
And then it ended up being like October 2022 or something fucked like that. But yeah, it finally happened. That was such a fucking great show. So like, at that point in their careers, like, you know, like playing like pubs and stuff like that was the perfect vibe for them. But now, like, I could not imagine them playing that sort of show again.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like they've really kind of like gotten to that point where, you know, the beats of what they're doing and the spectrum of what they're doing is most suited to that venue or those kind of venues rather.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's all about growth and development and like where your music makes the most sense. Like, I like the novelty of acts being in venues that normally aren't suited for them. Like, I don't know if you've seen, like, but Turnstile have been opening in the States for Blink-182, and they just did Madison Square Garden. Like, fucking Turnstile. Like,
I do enjoy that shit, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm so fucking stoked for them. Like, they are playing with their childhood heroes, like, playing venues they could have only fucking dreamed of, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, doing the same thing, like, they're playing, like, Red Rocks last year, you know?
That's fucking ridiculous.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was, like, they've been doing these wild, like, big, massive opening slots, and, yeah, now... Yeah, they've evolved from playing like these smaller shows to like the bigger like theaters, like in terms of being like a headlining act.
Yeah.
I still think they absolutely make sense in those smaller venues, but like the fact that they can translate to the theater setting means that, you know, that they're growing and adapting and evolving, and I think that's a really fucking cool thing. So yeah, I think it's really kind of contextual. Like, I wouldn't want to see fucking Gorillaz play the Lansdowne.
No, yeah,
you couldn't fit the fucking screen in there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
It's just like you'd need all of that stuff. But by that same contrast, like if it was up to me, like I wouldn't want to see, you know, Speed in an arena, like a fully seated arena or something like that. Like, it'd be funny, like, but like it'd be very, very entertaining.
I think it'd
like,
be the most different show.
I wouldn't choose it as like a permanent fixture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely,
so like,
yeah.
Like it's a case by case thing for me in terms of like the environment of what an artist is going for.
That's fair. Like you. God, this is so fucking entertaining for me. I'm just sitting back and I'm forgetting the questions I was like, I'm lost in this, what he's talking about. Because I'm like, I get it 100%. But when it comes to like arena shows, what is something that has stood out for you is like, this is the peak, this is the best I've seen. Not when it comes to so much the band is the best band you've seen, but the whole experience and vibe overall. Was it the Wiggles last year or...
Honestly, there's like in terms of like those massive sort of shows,
like because I think the vibe at a little show can be just as massive as something in a 20,000 seat arena. Like I've seen bands have been like, oh my god, I've connected so hard to this room. Like the cheating answer for me is the Soho show at Lansdowne was just as good as the Roundhouse show, if not better. You know, but like.
Like Soho's a band I've seen completely run the spectrum. The first time I saw them was at the North Nowra Tavern in the titular Nowra. This was in 2011. So like, I think they were just about to head back to America to try and crack there. Spoiler alert, it did not go well.
Yeah.
They were opening for Jebediah.
Fuck off.
Yeah,
really?
True. Yeah, man.
I saw Jebediah a month ago. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And like... fucking no one knew who they were because like apart from me and my brother and my mates, because like I had We Don't Belong Here and like I was thrashing that shit, and like I'd heard like Heavy Word and My Generation and shit on Triple J, and I was fucking loving it, and so like was there fucking super early on, and then saw them play like the Annandale opening for Cloud Nothings, and like saw them play like these smaller shows, and then Hungry Ghost comes out. Then I see them play a side stage at Big Day Out, but have one of the biggest crowds of the day.
That was the last Big Day Out, I think.
Second last Big Day Out.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, was it 20?
Was it the one with the Pearl Jam headlining?
Oh, fuck me. I can't remember if it was 2014 or 2015.
Because I recently...
I think you might be right. I think it might have been the last Big Day Out.
I recently was like talking about Big Day Out to someone, and I was like, I only ever went to it once, and that was the last one. And
really? Yeah.
We only went for Pearl Jam. I wasn't so into music, especially Australian music at that time. And someone was like, who was in the lineup? And I was like, a Pearl Jam and Primus is all I can remember. And I was like, oh, Birdie Eye, because I remember someone flipped off Liam Gallagher.
Oh, yeah, Beady Eye played. Yeah, that's right.
Beady Eye, sorry. And... I remember being at that show, and we just stood at the stage where Pearl Jam was because we were like, we want a good spot. And I went and looked at the poster like 6 months ago and nearly cried because like Tame Impala, Violent Soho, like DZ Def Rays, I think were on the line.
They opened the main stage. I remember that.
And I was just like, if I wasn't so up my own ass about music at that age, I would have had the best night of my life.
Fun, man. Fucking who else played? Primus, the Hives. The Hives played. They were great. Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, I think it was like Blur was supposed to be there, but they pulled out.
That was like one of the like kind of death knells for the festival.
Yeah.
Like
Arcade Fire
podcast
came out.
Plug Inside the Big Day Out. Great. Like it's a really fucking good series. Like,
wait, is that an actual podcast?
Yeah, Inside the Big Day Out. It was a like a ABC podcast series.
Right, I'm gonna look
where
that up.
they like detailed like the rise and fall of the whole festival.
It's a shame because it was what a festival.
It was the summer festival. Yeah,
it really was. Like Soundwave came kind of close, in my opinion, to like what I like. But it just wasn't as like, I don't know. Big Day Out was like adults Easter show.
It was a little bit, wasn't it? Yeah.
Like the rides, the little functions they had.
It all just came fucking tumbling down, and there was a lot of money involved, and inevitably anything that AJ Matter touches will turn to debt-ridden shit.
Yeah.
$55 million in debt and counting.
Doesn't he still owe Metallica money from
he owes everybody money. He started booking the next festival before he paid everyone at the last one. And you do not pay Billy Corgan and get away with it. That motherfucker was making $1.3 million a night.
Wait. Billy Corgan or AJ?
No, Smashing Pumpkins. Like, that was their performance fee.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Slipknot's 1.5.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, I'm not
like, you book all these massive fucking acts. Like, you gotta pay them. And this is the shit that he'd pull. He'd be like, oh, we'll fly you out. Like, they'd fly everyone out. They'd put everyone up in, like, the swankiest hotels and shit. And then it would come to, like, settlement, and just bands and shit wouldn't get paid. So many of them, or like they'd be paid, like he'd be like, oh, I'll pay in installments and shit, and then like an installment would come, and then there would be no further installments. There'd be like 66 grand of like the 1.3 million owed or whatever the fuck. Like,
Jesus Christ.
Shit got rough there for a while. Like a lot of money went up the nostrils. Let's say that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, he did come across about that. Even his social media presence,
and it's not just an AJ thing. Like there was so many fucking dudes that tried to pull this sort of shit. It's gotten slightly better, thankfully, but I guess in terms of like non-dodgy promoters and shit, but like it was a plague for a fucking while there. But my point was like, Soho were a band that I saw.
Yes. Sorry, my bad.
No. This was me. Like I went on this fucking tangent, dude. My point was, they are one of those bands that could translate between those settings. Like, always made sense at a pub, always made sense in like a larger room, always made sense in like the last few shows that I saw them do. Like, I've seen them play at the fucking River Stage in Brisbane.
Yeah,
the
I wish
massive
I went to that.
open air amphitheater. Like, those shows were incredible. Like, both times I saw them there were incredible. And yeah, the very final show at the Fortitude Music Hall, that was the best show I saw last year. Like, it was a very emotional, like, very powerful fucking show.
That was incredible, that show.
Yeah, like, it was so fucking special, man. Yeah, what else? Like, I think in terms of like, vibe capturing at arena shows and like having that same sort of magic that you'd get at those smaller shows. Like, the gang shows last year, like the Gang of Youth shows, like the Angel in Real Time shows were really, really special just because like they expanded out the band and like, they had like a very strong like creative vision for how everything looked and sounded. And it was like, like a very powerful, very emotional show. I loved the staging of the Kendrick Lamar show. Like, I was just absolutely stunned by like how that whole thing came together. Like, that's the closest that it's like an arena show has felt like a performance piece to me. Like like just the use of movement and choreography and the use of space and enclosure and just like like we had the seats like side on, just watching the whole thing kind of play out, and like I was just blown away by that. Like I thought it was just such a spectacular performance. Like the Tame Impala show, like seeing like the full rig of like the fucking spaceship that they were pulling together, like that was stunning. Like the Gorillaz show was incredible.
The Gorillaz one was sick.
Billie Eilish,
I wish I went to that.
Demolished. Like put on one of the slickest, most impressive, most like captivating shows that I've seen in such a long time. I was just like completely blown away by like how that show kind of came together and just the electricity in the room. It felt so zeitgeisty. Like you are in a room right now with the most famous person in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the most famous musician playing the most famous songs. Like you are in this fucking moment right there. And like, I was just completely fucking captivated by that. So like that was really, really special. And the final Midnight Oil shows as well. I went to 4 Midnight Oil shows last year. So Wynn Entertainment Centre, Qudos Bank Arena, Big Top at Luna Park, and the Horden Pavilion. And
I wanted that Big Top show so bad, and I had the worst bronchitis I've ever had in my life, like worse than COVID. I had a ticket. I have 10-1 on the shelf over there. It is probably my third favorite Australian album of all time, maybe second.
Big one, yeah.
It's incredible.
It's incredible, man.
It is so good. It's politically like... It's politically like enraged in the most positive manner. Like it makes you want to go protest.
Yeah, exactly.
Like without a doubt. And like it makes you feel like someone's on your side. It's a good workout album. It's a good drive along and time album. Like
it runs the gamut, man. Yeah.
And so that show they announced, my mate we both went to Wave Aid and we're like, it's like they won't come back. Like this is the last run of shows. Like let's go. We got tickets, and the week of it I was like, I don't care how sick I am, I'm going to this show. And then the day come and I couldn't breathe, and I was like, I can't stand in Big Top. Like getting to Big Top for anyone is a struggle unless you live at Milson's Point. And like I rang him, I was like, I can't do it, and he's like, I can't even hear you talk. And I was like, I'm sorry. And I gave him the other ticket. And I was like, please get me a shirt. He's like, yeah, I will. And he was like, oh, they sold out. And I was like, you can get me a fucking shirt, you bastard.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, I was so pissed
well, if it's
off.
any consolation, the show was really bad. They were really bad. I think Peter Garrett might have had bronchitis. He sounded terrible.
I wonder where he got it.
Yeah, he sounded really bad. So you're actually really lucky that you missed that show, because it actually sucked ass. Yeah, it was really bad.
Was it really good?
Yes.
I'm so jealous, but like I'm glad that like I know people that went to it, and everyone that I know went was
Here's
like...
the thing, right? I never thought I'd ever get to see Midnight Oil. Like, they split up when I was, like, 11 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they did a couple of those random, like, reunion shows. But, like, I didn't think they'd do a full-scale reunion.
So I got to see one of those ones. I got to see Midnight Oil at the Capitol before Sound Relief.
Oh, wow.
And they did a 2-hour set. They had a comedian open up because it was, like, organised within a week. They couldn't get another band in Canberra or to Canberra to open up. Yeah. And it was supposed to be, like, the rehearsal. And there was one point Peter Garrett sat on the stage, like in a drum riser, and they'd all fucked off. And they're like, we're just going to have like a 5-minute we're old break. And he's like, so I'm going to just talk for a second and drink a beer. And the only thing I can remember he said was like, I may be the only politician in Australia or in the world right now that's sitting on a stage drinking a beer to 1,000 people right now. And everyone just like lost their shit. But this show was wild because it was like a theater hall. Like it was like, you know, like they did stage productions there. It wasn't made for like bands, you know. So it was set up like a little bit of a curve. Everyone was standing and dancing in their seats because there was only like probably 2,000 people at best maybe. And everyone just walked up to the front from their seats. Yeah. And the security guards were like, we saw him being like, go back to your seats, go back to your seats. And he stopped, listened to his earpiece and just went... Like they must have just got told like it's happened.
There is nothing we can do at this point.
And it wasn't like violent. No one was like picking up chairs.
No.
Everyone was just dancing like Peter Garrett. Like
sometimes you just gotta know when to take a knee, right?
Yeah. And I've never seen defeat in a security guard that was like earned. He just went, yes. Okay.
Do you know the story about Snoop Dogg when he played the N-More?
No.
Okay, so this was that big day out. So he came out for that big day out. He was doing the Snoop Lion tour at the time.
Oh, yeah, because that was his reggae period,
he made
right?
like a dub reggae record, as Snoop Lion. So it was technically a Snoop Lion show. It was at the Enmore, and fucking Sydney Pigs obviously were under the impression like we are gonna make a fucking killing tonight.
A month's quota is gonna be up.
Yeah, right.
I mean, safe bet. Like, if anything.
Yeah. So like a half dozen of them rock up in the foyer, right, and they've got their fucking sniffer dogs with them. Here's what they didn't take into consideration. When you've like got a sniffer dog out at, like the front of a festival, right?
Yeah.
You'll have like, 50 people walking towards you, and one might have a blunt on them, right? Right? So
Me?
you. So the dog will immediately come up to you and start sniffing you out because it'll be like, nope, gotcha, boom, right? Can target, knows how to target, gets right onto it.
Yeah. I've had like the dog like not smoked it. Like I smoked it on the walk, and straight up just saying I smoke weed, but like like literally the door's gonna bust open.
Yeah. We got him, boys.
But I had like this is at Yours and Ours at COVID Festival. And I smoked the joint on the walk from the hotel, and I flicked it, and I threw the lighter. So if they smelt it on me, I didn't even have a lighter. So I could be like, I don't have anything. What the fuck's wrong with you? But the dog came up and smelt I could literally feel where the wet nose was, and it could feel like where my joint was in the pocket, and it was on it I could feel it breathing the pocket and shit, and I just went, oh God, thank God I've already smoked. And the cops came over and they went, can we search you? I went, sure, emptied my pockets, and I usually just take my phone, and at the time I had my license in the back.
Yeah.
So I was just like, that's all I have. And they're like, where's your keys? I'm like, I'm at a hotel, my friend's already here, they got the keys, I don't need them. And they went, can we strip search you? And I went, I'll drop my pants and I'll take my shirt off, but I won't go any further because you haven't found anything on me. And they're like, oh, but the dog smelled you. I'm like, the dog didn't sit. And because that was their sign. If the dog sits, that's when they're allowed to fully strip search. And I'm like, I'll take off my pants for you to the police in this cover, but I won't go further than that because the dog didn't sit down.
Yeah.
And he just went, you can't do that. And I went, well, we can ask the constable that's on at the moment and see what they say. And he just went, lift your shirt. And I lift my shirt and he went, okay, you can go in. And I was like, cool. And just walked straight past him.
Pleasure doing business with you. So this the thing you just mentioned ties into what happened when the pigs rocked up at the Snoop Lion show. So it was basically like an animal farm there, like it was, there was dogs and there was lions and there were pigs. It was all happening.
Snoop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Snoopy was there. It was all happening. So normally they can just target the one person and be like, boom, gotcha, right?
Yeah.
They walk in and they're just like, everyone has weed. What the fuck do we do? Like they were like over. So they all just collectively just fucking sat down. Like not near anyone, just sat down. They're just like, we can't do it.
Yeah, they're like,
there's too many.
Everyone.
Yeah, there's too many. And because none of the dogs were directly going up and sniffing out anyone.
Yeah.
The fucking pigs had no choice, so they had to fucking leave.
Yeah. That's so fucking good. That's power to the people.
Yeah,
that's right great? There. That's like we won. And also, like, that is a show that I don't imagine you'd have to take a joint to. Like,
yeah, like it's customary, right?
Oh yeah. The contact as well.
Yeah,
like,
this has been passed down from like the annals of history from like people working there, like since it happened. It's like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever. So yeah, like I just love that. I just fucking love that. It's just like this audience is too stoned for us to do anything about it.
I fucking love the idea of the police just been like, oh well, like we thought it'd be easy. That's hard mode. Oh, sorry, that made me a bit gassy. So 327 shows the last year. Easily, I reckon, since you're doing this since 11, you're can I say your age on the podcast? Is that cool?
Go nuts.
Cool. 32 years old now, so that's like 21 years of gigs on and off. Like, definitely would have had more condensed times than earlier times.
I wasn't doing the same amount of gigs when I was 13.
No.
Full disclosure.
But you'd be like easily into a K. Like maybe
probably.
2, right?
Yeah.
Like how many gigs have you gone to this year?
100 and I just updated this. I should know this.
That's okay. I don't. So
I reckon it's between 115 and 120. But
Okay.
I can't remember the specific number. It'll be one of those numbers.
Do you count shows or bands? So if you go to a festival,
Shows.
do you count the whole, like what you
Yeah,
saw?
you count the whole festival.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So like, I went to Laneway, and
Yeah.
Laneway counts as one show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not like 5 artists that you watched, it's one day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. God, if you counted the bands, holy shit.
Well, yeah, like that'd be a different kettle of fish
Yeah,
entirely.
definitely.
In terms of like, in like individual acts that I've seen.
Oh, no, we don't have to do that math. I feel like
I
feel like a nuke would
I
go
have
off.
my seen live list, and I reckon there's probably about 2,600
yeah.
in there. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like I'm fucking gaslighting myself when I'm going through that list, and I just see a band that I've never even fucking heard of. I'm just like, who the fuck are Jimmy and the Shits? And I'm just like, I'll have to like be like, oh, did I see them once at fucking Wasted Years opening for fucking like?
Is that an actual band?
No.
Okay. I was like, that's great.
Jimmy and the Shits. Yeah. Jimmy and the Shits. Ba 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 bum. Ba 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 bum. Bum.
So like all these shows, all these bands and everything. What's the worst one you've been to?
Oh fuck, man. I don't know.
Because I feel like asking the best would be too hard.
Yeah.
Like,
There's been some fucking weird ones.
well, okay,
like,
can I ask this? What is the one that you were disappointed by? You're like, oh, I just thought that'd be better than what that was. Not
Rihanna.
bad. Rihanna, really?
I was really looking forward to seeing Rihanna. This would have been like this was over a decade ago now. And it just, the whole time she was up there, it just felt like she just wanted to get the fuck out of Australia.
Holy
like,
shit.
It just, like her dancers were great, her band was great. Just like her, like it felt like she was there like live via satellite. You know what I mean?
Hologrammed in.
Yeah. Like it just didn't feel like she was like present whatsoever. It's just like doing the same show she'd be doing for like 6 months or whatever. And like fair enough, but
Yeah.
at the
Everyone
same
gets sick
time,
of their day
I
job,
got
yeah.
nothing out of it. I also got nothing out of the Justice. Was it the Justice tour? No, Purpose. The Purpose tour. Justin Bieber's tour. That was like I'd seen him do arenas like on the Believe tour, and that was fucking great. Like that was like everything you want a big cheesy pop show to be, right?
I worked local crew for those shows. The loudest fucking room I've ever been in. Like the screams were ear
kids were
piercing.
going fucking mental,
Yeah.
right? And like I fucking love Purpose as a record. Like, what do you mean? It's got some fucking like it's a fucking incredible song. Like, Sorry's a banger. Like, there's some really really good shit on that record. And then it just came to the live show and just. He was just dead behind the fucking eyes, man. Like, there was just absolutely nothing to this performance whatsoever. You know, like the backing dancer probably had more going like for them in that show than he did. Like, it was just one of the most dead shows that I've been to. Like, everyone was just screaming, going fucking mental, and just like he was gone. Like, there was just nothing behind the eyes, you know.
Well, that whole like era, I think, when he was starting to get sick of it.
Yeah,
like he was trying, like
he was very close to going off the fucking rails.
he was
That's
going to
the
Britney
absolute
Spears his life at one point.
Oh yeah,
he really was.
Hundo P, yeah. In terms of more recent stuff, I don't know if you saw or heard about the Seosin tour that happened back in March now.
Wait, which one? Sorry.
Do you know the band Seosin?
No.
They were a post-hardcore band, like American, like kind of big around the MySpace era. They had the fucking like killer debut record,
Like a real PCYC type band or something.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they were like beloved American like emo / post-hardcore band. So like a lot of nostalgia tied up in their early stuff. Like they have this interesting trajectory because their lead singer. Their original lead singer left after their first EP, so their band's first 2 albums were with a different singer. So Anthony Green was their original singer who left to form the band Circa Survive, who you might have heard of. Vaguely, yeah.
But like,
yeah.
I never got into hardcore until 2017. I went through like a breakup, and all of a sudden, a day to remember and everything just started translating into English to me.
Right. Okay.
So like I got into like that. I'm like, dude, I'm only getting into Blink-182 now.
How is that possible?
I told this story with Towns, and but like when I was growing up and I was playing guitar, everyone was playing Blink. And I just got sick of hearing like "Damn It" in every music room and stuff. So I was like, no, I'm going to listen to AC/DC. I'm going to listen to Metallica. Like I want to be a heavy metal band because they're heavier, they're angrier, they're louder. Teenagers, yeah.
Yeah, man.
You know, and then like I also listen to U2, so figure out that.
Right,
But,
yeah.
but now when I like all my favorite bands like Towns, Violent Soho, DZ Death Race, they all have stems of Blink-182 in them, like in their DNA. So I was all right, it's like all the bands I like Blink-182. Maybe it's time that I actually listen to Blink-182. And like Aston recommended the self-titled album to me.
Yeah.
It's probably been my most played album in the last month. So
It's a fucking killer record, man. Yeah.
That's my introduction to them. It's fantastic.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so like no, it's dope, man. I'm glad you're fucking discovering them now and shit. Like,
That segue was fantastic. Keep going.
So like they had this tour planned, and the subtitle of the tour was "All the Hits, All the Albums." So like, because their leads, Anthony Green, their original lead singer, had come back a few years back, and he was like, they'd made a new record together, and like. The tour was being pitched as they're going to do stuff off the albums that he didn't sing on, you know, and like they were going to do like a full career retrospective. And then they get to Australia and they only play, like they play for less than an hour, A, and B, they only play songs that Anthony Green sung on. And they never once acknowledge it, like across the whole tour. They are getting like railroaded on social media of just like all these people wanting fucking like their money back and like you know,
I did hear about this actually.
Yeah, and like accusing them of like false advertising to try and make money and shit like that. And like I'd heard about this the night before, and I was just like, oh, this is. I'm
red flags.
Yeah, I'm worried about this, but I was already going anyway, so I'm just like, all right, fuck it. And then I went and like. You know, there were a couple of like moments where I was just like, oh, it's like, I like this song. Like, I'm happy to hear it. But like, also, you put this on all the posters and everywhere. Like, everyone was waiting to see these songs, like, especially songs you haven't performed in so long. Like, what the fuck was the point? Like, and if there is some kind of legal obligation that is stopping you from performing these songs, you could have the fucking decency to explain to people why that is.
Yeah, put an asterisk next to it. Yeah,
like, yeah, it just ever got it's that classic fucking bit from the Sex Pistols gig, like the final Sex Pistols gig, where they just have that big bust up on stage, and then Johnny Rotten goes, "Ha, ever get the feeling you've been cheated?" And we're all just walking out. I'm just like, yeah, ever get the feeling you've been cheated? That's I feel you, Johnny. So like, those are some of the lowlights for me. Like, basically, whenever I've seen artists like where it really feels like they don't want to be there, and like, yeah, it just turns into a bummer of a show.
Yeah,
and yeah, those are. It's not fun, you know, and you don't go to shows to not have, you know, like obviously there are shows like you're just going for like the emotional part of it, but there's also you want to come out of it being like, I'm really glad that I had that experience. Yeah, like walking out of that Bieber show, walking out of that Rihanna show, walking out of like whatever shit, I'm just like, oh, I just feel like I wasted my time, you know, like.
It's not even a factor of money at that point because the money's already gone.
Yeah. So there's only X amount you can do at that point. But like,
it's like the time is more valuable, especially on the night.
Yeah, exactly. And especially now when there are so many fucking shows happening. Yeah. I'm just like, there are so many other fucking shows I could have been at tonight, and I chose to fucking be here. I chose to fucking engage with whatever the fuck you're doing. Yeah. And like, you've given me nothing. You know, like, I'm very grateful that those experiences are fucking few and far between. Like, because for the most part, I'm getting to see fucking great shit every week.
Yeah.
And I'm really fucking thankful for that.
I definitely think that like you're not seeing, well, even like everyone, like in particular that goes to gigs religiously, there is a lot better shows right now than there is bad.
100%.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there are fucking terrible shows that still exist.
Oh,
but
without doubt, yeah.
I'm not attending them.
Yeah, I think like the blessing that COVID gave to the music scene was that every gig that I've paid good money for has been well spent. There's not been like many since the start of 2022 that I paid for it and been like, oh, that was shit. I wish I didn't go to that.
Yeah,
you know.
Totally.
Like, there's only ever, I'm not going to name them, but there's only one band that I've ever seen and I walked up and like, I can't listen to music for the next 2 days. Like
because it was that bad.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't like music at the moment. And like I put my headphones in.
That Midnight Oil show was really bad, wasn't it? God.
That was a different reason. But no,
God,
like,
what a terrible band.
No. Like,
honestly.
Oh God, don't say that. It hurts. I know you're joking, but I'm like, not.
Oh, look, they've had it too good for too long. Let's kick them while they're down.
Oh, I can't.
Now they're broken up. It's just like, yeah, fuck them.
I can't wait for Rob Hurst's next side project.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll join in.
I'd rather listen to him play a fucking water tank than fucking have Peter Garrett lecture me for another 25 minutes.
We're now just doing humor for Midnight Oil fans.
Yeah, exactly. Real niche shit.
Oh, goddamn. Oh, fuck.
More like the dead fart. There you go. Come on!
Oh,
come on! Thank you.
I'd pay a lot of money for that.
Hell yeah.
That cover at a gig, microphone.
Live inside the water tank.
Yeah, 100%. Rob Hurst could pull it off. He drum solo during the singing.
The next time, just imagine him just fucking playing the fucking bit in the Power and the Passion, and then he just hears, ow! Oh, fuck! And he realizes there's been a guy sleeping in his water tank. Have you been here the whole fucking time?
5 tours, definitely.
Well, grab a pair of drumsticks. Get to work. Yes, sir, Rob Hurst, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go.
Holy shit. Well, okay, so you've seen like bands and shit that you've always wanted to see, but what are like bands that you really hope to see? Like, what's something that's like, I don't know if it's going to happen, but when it does, I'm there.
Man, like...
That's something that's possible. Not like, oh, I wish I could see Hendrix. Like, no, fuck that. That's not an answer.
Yeah, like, I'm fairly fortunate in, like, most of the artists that I've... that I've loved, I've been able to see, and the ones that I haven't are like either like never going to get back together again or mostly dead. Like REM are my favorite band of all time, and I never got the chance to see them, and I never will. And I've kind of made peace with that. Like I might be in the same room as one of them one day. Yeah, I don't know if that's possible, but fuck, I hope so. Like that'd be cool to watch one of them perform.
I can imagine Michael Stipe do like a
I'd love to see
like
Michael Stipe do a show. Like I'd bawl like a bitch.
Yeah, I would too.
I'd like so I'd in that sort of capacity or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But apart from that, like, I don't know. There's a couple that come to mind, but there's like bands that are like too niche or like wouldn't be able to come out to Australia in any kind of capacity to like warrant them coming to Australia. Like I really love a band from the States called Copeland, who are like, kind of like indie emo late 2000s kind of vibe. Their record You Are My Sunshine is like one of my favorite records. It's one of those albums that I just know in and out, like every beat, every harmony, everything, and I've loved them for so long, and I'm just like, they will probably never come out here. There's a couple of like country artists that I'm a huge fan of, but like if they do come out to Australia, they'll play like the like big fucking like CMC Rocks and then just do that. Like there's an artist I love called Ashley McBride who made my favorite record of 2020, a record called Never Will. Like she's this incredible songwriter, incredible singer, like unbelievable performer. And like the last couple of times she's been out here, she's just done like these big regional country festivals. And I'm just like, I can't fucking get to fucking Ipswich just to fucking see someone, you know?
Yeah.
Miranda Lambert is another like big country artist that I'm a huge fan of. Like there's slightly more of a chance to finally get to see her at some point. Like, she was supposed to come out in 2020, and then 2020 happened.
Yeah, I remember that, actually, yeah.
So, like, I would love to see her at some juncture. Like, I think those are a couple of the main ones off the top of my head. Like, but apart from that, like, I've genuinely been really lucky. Like, you know, probably my favorite, like, band that's still active is Death Cab, and I've been able to see them 6-7 times.
Fuck
like, yeah, so I love them heaps. Like, Panic at the Disco in their prime, like, I loved them. You know, I saw them like 3 or 4 times. TV on the Radio, I saw like 7 or 8 times. Like, a band that I just absolutely fucking worship. Keen, I got to see. Like I never got to see the Beatles, obviously, but I've seen Paul McCartney, and that show was incredible. Yeah, like I don't know, like even this was a funny one. For whatever reason, even though both of them toured frequently, I never got to see either The Strokes or Kings of Leon until last year.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, it was one thing or another that stopped me from seeing them, whether it was, like, not being able to afford it, like, you know,
true.
Or them being exclusive to a big festival. I remember I won a Channel V competition to see Kings of Leon play on a fucking boat. And then, like, day of, as I'm heading to it, it got cancelled. Like, I think either it was a weather thing or the singer lost his voice or something like that. But I just had to, like, fucking turn around and just fucking head home. Yeah. So, for whatever reason, yeah, like, one thing or another, like, up until last year, I hadn't seen either The Strokes or Kings of Leon, and I got to see both within a few months of one another. And it was just like, it was such a fucking thrill, like, hearing songs that I've loved since I was a teenager and, like, finally experiencing them live.
That's wild.
So that was really fucking cool. And yeah, like, I'm absolutely grateful that there is, still a chance to, you know, see cool new shit all the time. Yeah, you know, so
it's definitely booming now more than ever. Like,
oh god, it's so much, dude. It's fucked. Like, in the last couple of months, like, I've had maybe 1 or 2 nights off total.
That's
like,
wild.
Yeah, dude.
That's
like,
so wild.
There's been so much fucking shit happening.
Yeah, everyone's trying to get, like, everyone's trying to sink their teeth into it, and not in a bad way. It's the most motivated to see.
I'm biting off more than I can chew. I'll tell you what. I'm choking.
Holy shit!
But I will take that over, you know, the fucking 7 odd months that I was completely starved.
Yeah, definitely. How did you cope in COVID?
I didn't. I got really fucking sad.
The 5-month lockdown where we were told to stay inside in Sydney, that broke me.
Oh, fuck
but
me.
Like, honestly, because
you know what the worst fucking part was? This is the constant, just like, all right, well, maybe it'll change next week, and it didn't change next week because Gladys would be like, hey guys, guess what? Fuck, remember Gladys? Fuck me, what a great time.
What a concept.
Oh, hell, I said, yeah, what a concept. Whoa, god fucking damn. So yeah, like, the indefinite ones, like, where it's just like, when the fuck will this end? Like, yeah, it was, I'm gonna give you a really fucking hot take. Wasn't great. Not a fan. Probably wouldn't do it again. If someone asked, would you recommend this product? I would say no. I'm gonna shock some people with that, you know, but I'm here to create shock and awe. Those are my 2 main traits that I have as a person.
I can say really big, though, that your time in the sit-down gig period, right? Like, you know, when they were like, venues are open, but we got to sit at tables, 2 at a table.
Yeah,
and
I'm just like, all right, fuck it. Like,
I fucking loved your Instagram in that time, though, because if anyone could tell you it's too hard to go to a gig, you were seeing like 9 bands a night at one point. Like,
well, because
they had the afternoon sets and
yeah. So, like, because of the capacities, everywhere was running an early show and a late show.
Yeah.
And so, like, you got to like mix and match between, like, oh, who would be better to see at an early show and who would be better to see at a late show? And you just kind of like hop across town and, like, those were kind of fun because, like, you get some really weird combos.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going to the early show of Josh Pike and then going down the road and seeing the late show of Kwame. I remember going to the early show of Gordy and then going literally across town over to Mary's Underground to see Genesis Owusu.
Oh, that would have been wild.
Yeah, that was the best show I saw that year, like, including the pre-COVID shows.
Yeah.
Like, just seeing that band, like, fucking going for it, like, in that capacity. Like, it was so fucking cool.
Dude, Genesis Owusu is going to take over Australia.
Oh, it's only a matter of time. Dude, he's fucking playing the Horden in December.
In what, 2 years ago, Mary's Underground caused COVID, but that's fucking wild.
Yeah, man. Like, I saw him at the Vic, you know. Like,
did you go to that show at the Enmore?
Yeah, dude. I went to both of them.
Where the floor dropped?
Yeah, when the floor broke and when the floor fixed, yeah.
Tell me about it. I don't know anyone that went to it.
Right. What do you want to know?
So, like, okay, give me, like, timestamps, 9/11 style. Like, just...
yeah.
Like, 8:02, people started coming to the floor.
The
Like,
second mosh pit has hit the tally. Right, so...
were you standing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so first song is like the big, like, atmospheric intro track. It was like a rework of one of his older tracks. And so, like, first song, everyone is, you know, just kind of vibing with it. You know, it's kind of that neo soul kind of thing.
Yeah.
That
Real funky
future R&B kind of thing. And so I think one of the things that contributed was just the smash cut, because it goes from that big ambient intro, the song called With the Team, and then it transitions into The Other Black Dog, which is like a really kind of like driving, more post-punky, new wavy kind of track on the first record. And I think that initial, just the excitement, just the like, everyone was just like, let's fucking go. It was like one of the first like full capacity shows back. Like,
it was too. Yeah.
So like everyone was like super excited that like it was just a lot of electricity in that room. And like, I remember, because I wasn't in the thick of it, like, I was kind of off to the side a little bit. So I was watching, and then I saw a bunch of people fall over. And I thought, oh, like...
it's classic mosh fault.
Yeah. Like, I figured it was just a domino thing of just, like, oh, like, one person's toppled into another person. And, like, it's just created this kind of, you know, chaos thing. Then everyone stood up. And then I noticed a lot of heads were considerably shorter than the others surround. And then I kind of peer over... and then I see that kind of dip in the carpet, and I just think, oh, that's not supposed to be there.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
No, like, hearing this is like awesome to hear. I've never heard the story. I just saw photos.
So underneath the Enmore floor, there's like 3 like main wooden turrets.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're wooden or steel, but like they like kind of hold up the floor, which is why it's kind of got that kind of bounce to it when you walk on it.
It does too, actually. Shit, yeah, it does. Sorry.
It was a combination of the weather and the weight, because it'd been raining for a while at that point, and and like having not like held up that capacity of people for quite some time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like something had to give. And so there ended up being like a, 4 meter drop in like, yeah. It was this big, there were no injuries. No one got hurt. Like,
that's amazing.
People fell over. I'll tell you what saved us, the fucking thickest shit carpet. Like, because that carpet is so fucking thick that, like, it would take, like, a box cutter to get through it, right?
Fucking would.
Yeah, right? So,
my God.
The fact that, if it had torn open and someone had, like, fallen or, like, broken their leg, someone could have fucking died, you know? Like, yeah. So it was just, like, that held it up. And, like, they're, like, starting the second song, and then Kofi kind of looks out and is just like, is everyone okay? And then, like, they're all getting in their ears. It's just like, stop the show. Like, we need to figure out what to do next. And sure enough, the show could not continue. And it made national news.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was huge. And so, like, when they were just like, we're going to have to postpone the show, I was just like, all right. And then I start trying to get my way home, etc. what they did after that was they cleared out the whole venue. They brought in people to work basically overnight.
Yeah.
To like reestablish the floor, fix everything up, and like within 12 hours the whole thing was fixed.
Yeah.
Which was like unbelievable.
Dude, great, like hats off to the Enmore, because I was like, well, that's the end of the Enmore. Thank God we just got back to like regular venues. And then like 3 nights later, someone's like, oh, I'm going to the Enmore tonight to see so and so. I can't remember who was on after, and I was like,
that's the thing. It was just like either like they have like the normal, just like, oh, we'll have to shut for a few days or whatever. It was either that or lose a whole week's worth of shows.
yeah, and they got it back.
Yeah.
Within days at best.
No, literally the next day.
Bullshit. Really, the next day?
There was a show there the following night. Young Franco played there the next
You're
night.
shitting me. They had that ready the next day?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Like I said, within 12 hours of that happening.
Dude, the Enmore is incredible, man.
The team they brought in was unbelievable. So they had like a week's worth of shows there because like All Day was in there on the Sunday, King Giz was in there on the Monday. There was some fucking true crime guy in there on the Saturday, which I'm pretty sure wouldn't have fucking broken the floor.
No, not at all. You could probably done it on the broken floor.
Yeah, a lot of 30, 40-something women that might have soaked the floor. But, like, apart from that, tell you what.
Oh, good.
And the Whitlams were there for 2 nights as well. And I was at a chunk of those shows. Like, I was at the All Day show and the Giz show and the Whitlam show as well. And just, like... Yeah, just like, oh, thank fuck, you know? And yeah, it's been incident-free since.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was wild. That was my first time being at the Enmore when the floor has broken.
Yeah.
Because it's happened a few times in the past. The earliest instance I could find was in the late 80s when, do you know the band The Pogues?
Yes.
Yeah, Irish folk punk band. They played there, and apparently everyone was dancing so hard that the floor broke.
That would do it.
Linkin Park
broke
the floor in the early 2000s.
Fucking do it, yeah.
And the Presets did it in the late 2000s.
All of those make sense.
Yeah, totally.
All of them actually make sense.
And now, Genesis is part of that, legacy. Yeah.
That's wild.
It was also really funny when the shows got announced because the Horton social media people were just like, just letting you know, we have a concrete floor. So you're going to have to work really hard, guys.
I think, like, in a way, because I didn't know who he was until the Mary show, because I remember friends going to that, and I remember just being, that sounds fun, I guess. I don't know who that is. But I didn't know who he was until that happened. Like, that would have been, like, granted, horrible for the venue, incredible for his publicity. Like, he would have been the hardest motherfucker in Sydney at that point. Like,
everyone's just like, this dude.
Yeah, it literally been like, who did it? Genesis?
Genesis. All
right, Spotify. Let's listen.
Yeah.
Because, like, I was just like, that's some tough shit. Like, that's some hard out shit. And then that's wild, man. I can't believe you were there.
Yeah, like, I wasn't gonna miss that show. Like, I've known Kofi for a little while. Like, him and like his goons, like Bailey and Mikey and that. Like, his whole team are just like some of the nicest fucking people.
Yeah.
And like. Yeah, last time I caught up with Kofi was at the Idol show last year.
Okay.
Because they met like on the festival circuit through like UK and Europe and shit. And yeah, so they all came up they're from Canberra, so they came up for that, and they were. Yeah, like working on some new shit at the time, which has now become the new album. And so, like, yeah, it was fucking fun to catch up. That was another one of those instances where I'm just hanging out with Kofi and then, like, a bunch of kids come up wanting photos at the end. I'm just like, oh, you guys know Kofi too? Dope. Yeah.
Or like you posted the other day in the Sly Withers music video and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, Sly Withers. I didn't know that. Like, Sam from Sly Withers knew who I was. that was one of the weird. No, legit. Like, I told this story on when I had Jono and Sam on my podcast on All My Friends Are in Bar Bands. This was at the King Street Crawl in 2018. I was at the Marley Bar. I think, Wax were about to play. I was just kind of wandering around, like, in between bands, and this fucking guy just fucking pelts up to me. Says, "Hey, my name's Sam. I play in a band called Sly Withers. Like, I've heard your podcast. It's really cool. And you like wrestling and I like wrestling." It's like, "Oh, hey man, what's up? Cool. Yeah, dope. I've never heard of your band, but I'll check him out. You know, it's just like, next time we're playing in Sydney, you should come." It's just like, yeah, cool. And then the next time they played in Sydney was opening for Slowly at Crowbar.
I missed that show.
And Teen Jesus and the Gene Teasers. There we go. They opened. Like, yeah, I remember that. And so he was just like, "Do you want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so that was my first time seeing them and like properly hanging out with Sam and shit like that. And like that was like 4 years ago, around there.
Like that,
and yeah, we've been mates pretty much ever since. Like, yeah, and then eventually met like Jono and S'mores and Joel and Skinny and like that whole crew and just like everyone in the Sly camp and just like, yeah, they're all fucking lovely fucking people. And like, yeah, I make a point of like hanging out with them pretty much whenever they're in town.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, they're fucking legends. Yeah, and like, yeah, Sam and I just, you know, share wrestling memes all the time and just talk shit. Like, yeah, he's a dude, man. Like, yeah, I got a lot of time for Sly and that crew. So
fuck yeah.
that shot in the live video was taken on their like last big like headlining tour, and we were like in the stairwell of the Metro, like. I think, yeah, it was after the show, so we're just hanging out and just talking shit. And, what's his name? Tim Elphick, who's their, like, tour photographer, videographer, etc. He was just filming random bits and pieces that were eventually going to come together for this live video. And, like, I didn't even realize, like, I knew he took a couple of photos that night, but I didn't realize he was, like, filming shit as well. Yeah. And so when I see it back, I'm just like, oh, fuck, you were filming that. That's wild. I can't even remember what the fuck I was yammering on about in that video. But, like, yeah, you just see me for a little second in that video. Yeah, I'm just adding that to my IMDb now. Like, I'm also in the video for Say Yes to Life by Gang of Youths.
Fuck
yeah.
That's so sick.
Giving Dave a hug before he goes on stage at the Tivoli in Brisbane.
I'm going to have to watch that again now, yeah. I haven't seen that music video in years.
Borders and State Lines by Luca Brasi. Like, there's like this slow motion shot of me applauding at the end of a song. Like, it's usually like, yeah, like performance-based, like, videos that I found myself in. Yeah, just like little random snippets and cameos and stuff like that. It's just like, oh, there I am. Yeah.
I feel like that sums you up so well though, because like when I remember when I followed you and you started putting up photos, like not starting like you're bragging, but like they were genuine, like, oh, these are my friends, these are people I know.
Yeah,
and those people like Maddie Jane and stuff coming up, and I was like,
God, I love Maddie. I miss her so much. I haven't seen her in ages.
She's incredible, man. Like one of my favorite Australian songwriters and stuff. Like,
yeah, like, we met through Brasi because she opened for Brasi on one of their tours.
That's right.
Because she's a Tassie girl. Like, she's from Bruni and they're from Lorne. And yeah, like again, like I just remember this fucking young kid just fucking belting it out on stage. They didn't have enough songs for a full 30-minute set, so she busted out a bit of Dreams by Fleetwood Mac and was just like, all right, we're gonna get on just fine. And then she moved to Wollongong, and like my friend Ali, who used to be in the band Boat Show, she was down that weekend. She's like, "Have you met Maddie?" I was just like, oh yeah, I remember you. And like, yeah, we just kind of kept in touch since then. And it's just like, yeah, like she was living in Wollongong for a while. Like most of her band was based in Wollongong for a while. And then like she went back to Tassie and now she's in Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see each other like all the time, like, or at least we used to. Like, now that she's back, I need to fucking properly catch up with her because it's been too fucking long. But yeah, like just one of the most genuine and lovely people. I also am madly in love with her dog, Iggy. She's so fucking cute. And she's so playful and cuddly and just like, yeah, like she's getting on now, but like she still just has that energy of a puppy every time you walk into a room. Just like the classic, like, you know when a dog gets so excited it like spins around a couple of times? Every time I see him like, Iggy girl, and this is like fucking off she goes. And she's such a delight. But yeah, Maddie's a fucking queen. Yeah.
I can only imagine, dude. Like, I've caught her twice. One of the sit down COVID shows and the Mary's Underground show that she did last year.
Oh yeah.
And like,
That was a great one. Yeah,
dude, fantastic. And like,
Yeah.
one thing I really dug about her was like, I can't remember the name of it right now. I'm so a piece of shit.
Yeah.
The EP that had the black and white drawing of like the boobs with Saturn for nipples.
I
can't think of-
Not humid at all.
That's it. Yes. Yeah, that's it. And I remember like I worked at JB and we got it. And I remember looking at it being like, this looks indie as fuck. I need to check this out.
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
put it in my pile and then I looked it up on Spotify and I bought the CD. And I remember I fell in love with Thank You and Sorry.
Oh,
Like, 'cause
tune.
it's just genuine. Like, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
delightful. It's just nice. And then her album came out after, and I didn't even call it on my radar. And we got in at JB, and I put it in my pile, and I bought it that day. It's in the collection over here.
Hell yeah.
And it's probably one of my favorite Australian albums. And I really think that if she gets that one little spick of bigger notice than what she has already, she'll blow up. Like, she is incredible.
She's already gotten to do some amazing shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, she's played with Harry Styles. She's
Yes.
played with Red Hot
Yes,
Chili
she did too.
Peppers.
I
you
forgot
know,
about the
like,
Harry Styles.
Yeah, like on his first solo tour. Like,
Yeah.
she did his theater shows. And yeah, like, so she's going to do some fucking cool shit. And I reckon she'll continue to do cool shit because that's just the type of girl that Maddie is. Yeah.
She's a go-getter, man. She won't stop.
Yeah, fucking A.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But, like,
yeah, love Maddie.
you were like on that same level of delightfulness because like all these people like will speak highly of you, and like I can tell
I'm
you.
paying them all very handsomely.
Oh bullshit.
Yeah.
But
that's
like,
why I'm so poor. I have to pay people every time they say something nice about me.
well, like I had a band on here, doom metal band. Their album's just Astro Death.
Oh, yeah. I've seen them a couple times. They're cool, man.
Well, the greatest thing, and they're like, "Who's the next guest?" And I was like, "I'll get this guy coming on. Hopefully tomorrow. His name's David. He goes to all these shows." And they're like, "How many shows he go to?" And I was like, "Oh, he's gone to a lot." And they're like, "Who is he?" And I went, "You would have seen him." And they're like, "I don't know, man, David. I don't know, David." And then they got your photo up, and they went, and
you mean like you're telling your doom metal band? Yeah, the guy with the beard and long hair and the
that's
black
why I didn't-
t-shirt.
Oh, I straight up did not describe you for that reason because I was like, "Oh, you would have seen him." And I'm like, as I'm saying it, looking you up, I'm like, "There he is." And they both went, "Oh yeah, we've seen him before. He's been to a couple of shows." And I was
Yeah,
just
man.
like, I love that. And like, I think you were.
They played with my boys Post Truth a few years ago.
Yeah. And I think like what makes you great, I couldn't think of another word, but like I think so many people get trapped in genre. And I've never met anyone that will be going to see someone like Genesis Owusu, going to some metal shows, then going to see someone like Maddie Jane. Like, music is music to you. And I think that is so inspiring to someone that's like, I grew up in that era of like, you had to stick to your roots of
Right,
music.
yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I love that. Like, definitely it's changing, but I feel like, especially for me, when I look at people like you, I can just see like, you remember music is supposed to be just music.
I try to. Like, here's the thing, right? I have always just constantly been adding on.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like, you know, in high school, everyone's just like, oh, I went through a punk phase, I went through a goth phase, I went through an emo phase, I went through a fucking rock, like, whatever the fuck phase, right? And I did too, but instead of just like phasing out the older shit, I was just adding on new shit, right?
Yeah.
So like I would, at the start of high school, you know, I liked, you know, X amount of bands, and then, you know, new shit would come along and be like, all right, cool, well, I'm going to start listening to this as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to abandon the stuff that I used to listen to. You know, I'm just going to keep adding on more and more and more shit. And so it's just like, it turns into this big amorphous fucking blob. And that's, you know, what it remains now, you know, like I get bored of listening to the same stuff for more than like a period of time, you know, like I'm constantly interested in whatever is happening like currently that is exciting and on the fringes and, you know, something new and something fresh and something exciting. I remember I interviewed George Clinton many years ago. Wow. Yeah, dude.
Holy shit.
Yeah, man. Like the guy's got fucking stories. Like for a dude you would not expect to remember what happened yesterday. Just a dude that is constantly baked. He's sharp as a fucking tack, surprisingly. I remember being like, so you are like touring with a lot of like younger artists and like, you know, you appear on like, tracks with like Kendrick or Big Boy or whoever the fuck else. Like, you are still very much in touch with like a younger generation. Like, so many artists your age, like, will get to a certain point and like will only tour with, their contemporaries from back in the day, or, will only listen to like music from a certain period or whatever. It's just like, how do you connect with modern music? Like, still at like, cause you're like late 60s, early 70s or whatever. And he gave the best fucking answer. He just goes, man, all I ever do is listen out for the music that people are saying ain't real music. Because if they're upsetting people, if they're saying, oh, that's not real music, then I know they're doing something interesting. And I gotta see that shit for myself. Confidence Man ain't making real music. Pissed off all these fucking traditionalists. One of the best fucking acts we've got going right now. Yeah, 100 Gex. They're not making real music. That's just noise or whatever. It's just like, they are so much fun and so exciting. Like, yeah, there's so much Big Wet, like whoever the fuck else, there's so much cool shit going on. And if they are bristling the whiskers of traditionalists, then I'm in. Yeah, I want to see what the fuck is happening. If Normies are clutching their handbags over an artist, I want in.
I'm going to name the episode that, Normies clutching their handbags. That's the quote for the
Other
title.
Escapades. There we go.
That's fucking it. Yeah, without a doubt. Holy shit, I love that.
Or the unexpected virtue of ignorance.
That's going to be the extended title. The open colon, fucking...
brackets Taylor's version.
Oh, yeah, done. That's it. That's 100% in. I love that shit. Okay, so I got a couple more questions, but we're hitting the hour and a half mark.
Fuck me.
Yeah, this has been great.
I can yammer. Fuck
Dude,
me.
I'm fucking here for it. Honest to God, I've already in my mind been like, in a year's time, we're going to do another episode. We're going to get David back on. We're going to talk about the last year, review it. Okay, so how much merch do you have?
Too much. I had to put a bunch of it into those these vacuum
bags?
seals.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah. So I just did a big fucking clear out, and there's still too fucking much of it.
So how do you handle like Australia's band shirt day? Like, how do you pick one?
That's why I bought a fucking chunk of it. Like, this was like started 2020. Well, not started 2020. Like, in the thick of it, 2020. Like, when like I had all this money, and it was just like, well, I can't spend anything on tickets because there are no shows.
Yeah.
And so
okay, yeah.
So like at that point I went fucking mental. Like, I just bought so much shit, and like I did this big fundraiser for Australian Music T-shirt Day, and like raised a couple hundred for
I remember you doing that actually. The questions on Instagram, and you did $1 per.
I used to do a bunch of shit like that. Yeah, just for charities and shit, because I'm just like, well, I need to be doing something instructive, and I need to be doing something. Otherwise, I'm gonna go fucking mental.
Yeah, you did better than me. I was dancing with my cat to Bo Burnham, which I know you hate Bo Burnham. I'm not gonna lie, but
I fucking his early stuff I think is incredible. Like,
I won't lie, I meant to say Inside by Bo Burnham.
Yeah, that shit sucks. Like that is symptomatic of like a new generation of people that only like comedy when it isn't funny. So Nanette, Inside, like whatever the fuck else, like it's stuff where it's just like, this is actually a theater piece about trauma, but it's like it's in the Trojan horse of a comedy show.
I get that. I get the same thing with horror movies, like movies that are like, the horror element is trauma. I'm like, fuck off, I've got that in real life. I need something else. Yeah. And let me escape.
Yeah. And just shit like that for me has just like brought out an absolute fucking death of a sense of humor. Like, you go on Instagram, you go on a reel, and you'll see anyone making any sort of joke about anything. Like, someone could literally be like, why do the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? And the top comment will be like, well, actually, chickens don't do that. This joke is classist. This joke is speciesist.
It's ableist.
Yeah, like, it's like... And that's not even like you can't say anything anymore. It's just like I'm saying, like, people literally just have no fucking comprehension of what humor is anymore. And for me,
humor is now broken.
Well, like, and for me, a big part of that, like, well, I don't think humor is broken because, like, tangibly in real life, it's still very much a thing. Like I've seen some incredible comedy shows recently. Like people like Sam Campbell are like still really fucking pushing the envelope and creating really original and really funny stuff. But like in terms of like posting shit online, like there are just people that do not seem to understand how fucking humor works. And I feel like, shit like Hannah Gadsby and like more recent like Bo Burnham and whatever the fuck else has contributed to that, because that's what we are being presented as the idea of comedy. It's just like, oh no, it's like people unpacking all this like horrible shit about themselves. And like, Bo Burnham used to be able to do that really well. Like, I think on, like, Make Happy. Like, you know, you look at, like, the Kanye rant thing. Like, that is so well done because it has the sentimentality, but it also never loses sight of being funny.
Yeah.
Whereas Inside completely lost sight of being funny.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing funny about so much of that shit. And it just became depressing. I sat through that whole thing being like, this is the most, like, critically acclaimed thing that this guy has ever done. I got more out of his Vine where he said, is there anything better than pussy? Yes, a really good book.
Dun.
Yeah, exactly. To me, that 7-second Vine is better than that 100-minute special. Like, honest to fucking Christ, man.
I have 2 different versions of my vinyl collection.
I'm so sorry.
The thing I really dig about it, okay, so the box set is possibly the nicest vinyl box set I own. Like, it genuinely, production on that, great. What I really liked about Inside was the production of one person doing something. And, like, I thought, like, the utilizing, like, wealth, clearly, but, like, learning, like, you can see, like, how it starts and throughout it that his knowledge of how lights work, lasers work, projectors work. Yeah. And, like, I thought, as someone that I wanted to be so creative in that time, but it was fucking my head in so much that I was not jealous, but, like, I enjoyed how much that he was trying to be like creative on his own. And that was my favorite outtake of it, besides the Jeffrey Bezos song. That was my favorite song from it.
Yeah.
But like I love the creativity that he did in that time and got jealous of that. That's what I really dug about it. Also, the box set is just delicious. Like, it's fantastic.
Right on.
Not to bring up Bo Burnham like that violently or anything.
I don't even remember how it came up in the first place.
We're talking about merch. You donating money to charity. And then I said, yeah. But yeah, so when it comes to merch, what is your favorite piece of merch? Like, is there something that you have that you're just like, I'm so glad that they had my size, or they had one left and they... or like a poster or memorabilia.
There's a couple of things, like, yeah, like sometimes I just like really good artwork, and like I just like really like how a certain shirt is designed or whatever. Like Private Function is a great example.
Oh
they
my
always
God.
have like fucking excellent shirts. Like I have the Jesus one.
Fuck you!
It's so good, right?
I had the sticker in my bathroom that came with the latest
the weight
album.
Of being the greatest band in the world. Yeah,
Private Function.
Yeah, carrying it around on a crucifix.
I wrote the Chris, been like, dude, please. He's like, we're not. He's like, we're not reprinting it. And I was like, I know you're not. Like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, I got it at I was in Brisbane last year for Big Sound and the Violent Soho show.
Oh, yeah.
And they played at the Bright Side. And so, yeah, went along to that and, yeah, bought a shirt. And, it was fucking good gear, man. I have a Beth shirt that I really, really love. Like, that has, like, a fucking gorgeous design on it. And there's also a couple of shirts of, like, bands that, like, have not existed for a very, very long time, like just little artifacts of like Sydney music and stuff like that. So like I always get sentimental, like going back and like finding like my old Hannah band shirts or like my old Oslo shirts or like whoever the fuck else, like bands like Blackwire era bands that I really fucking loved. And so like it's nice to just kind of go through stuff like that and just be like, remember.
Oh my God.
It's not so much about like
you're probably not going to wear it,
it's
but
not so much, sometimes it's not so much about the design or whatever. It's just about just like remembering like the experience of like, remember that band? Fucking hey. I got sent a video the other day of like a dude was just like, hey, I found this video from it was the Violent Soho like Manning Bar shows in 2014, circa Hungry Ghost, and this guy was mates with one of the opening bands called Sounds Like Sunset, and he'd filmed like a part of I think the last song of the set, and like he was just like, I like swung around to the crowd and like there you are in the front row, like fucking like nodding along or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah. And I'm wearing a Post Blue shirt that I haven't seen in like 7 years. I'm just like, I forgot I had that shirt. I was just like, holy shit.
That's your new Instagram account. Just like taking a photo of each shirt, telling where you got it from and shit. Like,
oh man. Yeah.
Cataloging.
Oh god, yeah, that's another fucking rainy day project, I tell you what. But yeah, like, yeah, I've got a lot. I have too much, and even now that I have Ziploc bags full of merch, there's still too much.
I love that. I love that so much, man. Like I think the one thing that's good about Australian music, and I can't comment on like anywhere else in the world because I'm only here, but Australian music seems to have such a dense community vibe. Like bands that like Private Function or Towns or Wax, when they drop merch drops that are like one-offs, people are on it. Also, Slow is a great example. They won't have an album out, but they're like, oh, we did a coffee range, go for it.
Yeah,
you know, and like I think it makes that little bit of connection with bands a little bit stronger, and I think COVID helped with that because that's how so many bands got through. They were just dropping runs of merch.
Yeah, you know? Definitely. Yeah, that was a big part of like that whole period for sure. And yeah, that was the only way I could tangibly support a lot of. So like for me, it was like kind of just going through just like, what bands am I like? Do I dig like Australian bands and shit? Like, what bands do I like that I don't have the shirts of? And so I was just kind of like going through and like, well, I don't have that, and that. And it's just like, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to fucking, you know, put my money where my mouth is. And that was like that whole splurge. And I still have a chunk of it to this day. I
fucking love that. Because, I really do.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, this has been absolutely wild. Look, we'll start wrapping up because we're hitting the 1 hour and 40 mark.
Good Lord.
There's a little bit we're going to take out from the start that's going to be a surprise later in life. But I do this thing with everyone so far. You're the third person to go through it. Right. We have all these records here. I have around 300. They are mine. But
congratulations.
Thank you. I would like you to go through, pick one that stands out for you, and talk about why that album in particular.
Okay.
So, like, take as much time as you want. It doesn't have to rush.
I picked out your SRC Hi-Fi audiophile mastering, sourced from the highest quality vinyl master files, srcvinyl.com, copy of Neon Ballroom by Silverchair.
It's a great album.
It is a great album. Yeah. It's the first album I ever bought.
Is it really?
Yeah. No, I'm just fucking with you. Yeah. No, this was the first album I ever bought. I would have been 8, and like, yeah, like they were on TV all the time, and like, yeah, I was just obsessed with them, you know, because I, at that point, had never seen or heard anything quite like them, and yeah, I was just so like drawn to them, and yeah, like it's just such a trip looking at like. This is the vinyl version, but I have the CD version, obviously, and like all these parts here, like the various squares with all the lyrics on them.
Yeah,
that was the booklet.
Yeah, and it folded out like a poster.
Yeah. And I remember, I would just learn all these lyrics off by heart, and yeah, like this is another one of those records that I just know inside out. I even know the stuff that got taken out.
Yeah, I fucking love that.
Well, do you know who plays piano on Emotion Sickness?
Paul Mac.
No,
it's not Paul Mac.
No. Like Paul Mac is on this record. Like he plays keys on a few songs. So does fucking old mate from Midnight Oil.
Rob Hurst again?
Jim Maggini.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's on a couple of tracks. But on the opening track, do you know the movie Shine?
Yes, the piano song.
Yeah. So David Helfgott, the real David Helfgott.
Wait, really?
Yeah. He played.
Holy shit! I didn't know any of this.
He plays piano on Emotion Sickness. Yes, and like, there's a story from that era. Yeah, there he is. Yeah. Piano on Emotion Sickness, David Helfgott. You'll see that.
Oh my god, yeah, too.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I always thought it was Paul Mac. Like, honestly,
Yeah, Paul Mac is on Anthem for the Year 2000, Spawn Again, and Satin Sheets. So he plays like synth and like does noise and stuff like that.
Because that's where Paul and Daniel properly met, isn't it?
Yeah,
like before I Can't Believe It's Not Rock and stuff. Or...
Yeah. And yeah, Jim Magini played on Anthem, Anna's Song, Miss You Love, Dearest Helpless, Do You Feel the Same, Pan Pastel Princess, and Point of View. So he played
song
keys
on that album is so good.
so many good tunes. But yeah, so they brought in David Helfgott, who was also like, you know, a troubled young genius, the same way as Daniel Johns was.
Yeah.
And they recorded him playing piano, like the dun 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 dun, like that's all, like all that kind of, that's all his composition work. Like, yeah, that's him playing piano. And the story goes that just before they started recording, Dave like gets in the zone and like sits at the piano, and like, you know, he was obviously kind of like a Brian Wilson type, but just like not entirely there, just always kind of off in his own thing. And he sits at the piano and he just says to himself, all right, off we go again into music land. Da-da-dun, da-da-dun,
No
da-da-dun,
way.
da-da-dun. And they were just like, fuck, I wish we were recording when he said, here we go again, off into music land.
To start the whole album like that?
Yeah, I'm just like, that would have been so perfect. Like, yeah, so every time I put on this record, that's all I think about. Just like, here we are, off into music land. And so, yeah, like, I love that. I love kind of a random off-cut bit that kind of kicks off a record.
Yeah.
Do you know Gala Mill, the Drones record?
No.
It's incredible. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone in on the Drones.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Do you know Tropical Fuckstorm?
Yes.
Yeah, so Gaz and Fee, like the singer and the bass player in TFS, before TFS, they were in a band together called The Drones, who were together for like nearly 20 years.
Oh, wait, no, I do know of the Drones. Yeah.
Yeah. They were classic, like, no one gave a shit about them, left, went to the UK, came back, everyone started giving a shit about them kind of band. And they made a record called Gala Mill, which was recorded out like in their like regional Victoria property. And because like a lot of it was just recorded like to track, like, or to tape rather, within like just their like a room like this, you know, and like, they've got dogs out in the fucking paddock, and the very first thing that you hear is the engineer yelling out to the dogs, "We're recording, shut up."
I fucking love that.
And so, yeah, every time I hear that record, it's like, "We're recording, shut up."
I love that shit.
Yeah. So, in a perfect world, that's how Neon Ballroom would start. But look, still, you can't go past da-da-dun, 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 da-da-dun. Like, yeah. I also remember that this album having the enhanced CD. So you put the CD in and you'd watch the 144p video for Motion
it was
Sickness.
Shit quality.
Oh, but at the time, it was just like, oh my God,
like, this is the future.
This is the future, baby. It's such a weird, diverse record. Like, it's not, you know, the entire like teenage symphony to God that fucking Diorama was, but it also wasn't like the, you know, like Nirvana worship grunge that Frog Stomp was.
Yeah.
So, and you know, they teased some experimentation on Freak Show, but I feel like this record is the epicenter of, quite literally the epicenter of the Silverchair discography. 2 albums before it, 2 albums after it. And I feel like this is it's like their rubber soul. Like, it's the perfect amalgamation of their past and their present.
Holy shit, yes.
And their future. You know, it's like who they were, who they're going to become, and you've got who they are in the middle, and that's Neon Ballroom.
I like that album is incredible. Like, when I was going through my whole like depressing stages of life, that was the album I listened to the most. Like, to me, like, I've always said to people, and I've had so many people disagree, that it's it comes to me as an emo album more than anything else. Like, if Frog Stomp's a grunge album, Freak Show to me is a metal album, and like Neon Ballroom is like this emotional, like, depressing.
Oh, it's a very emotional record. Yeah.
Like, you know, like I feel like we Australia didn't have too much of an emo scene, like in music scenes at one point. Like we had it, but not huge like it was everywhere else. But like I feel like that album in particular, if someone was like, "Oh, I really like emo music," I'm like, "Oh, you should really check out Neon Ballroom." They're like, "Is it emo?" I'm like, "Not really," but
and not in this, not in the sense you're thinking, like
not
not
in
like
like
it's not in like a Jimmy Eat World kind of way,
Yes.
but yeah,
like it's
a
soul crushing album.
They were like very subtly impactful on like a lot of stuff that came after them. Like I always remembered like when Good Charlotte were kicking off, their guitarist Billy would always wear Silverchair shirts.
Yeah, he did too.
Like
yeah,
he used to rep them fucking hard.
Yeah,
and I always like I was never a big fan of theirs, but I was just like giving like begrudging respect to him. It's like, all right, you got the Silverchair shirt.
I won't
You're all
hate
right.
you.
Yeah, not you specifically. Yeah. The
Good
Madden
Charlotte,
brothers
that's
can
the
get
word.
fucked, but you're all right. You're
Holy
all
shit.
right.
So you, like I every episode we've done so far, Silverchair's come up. I big Silverchair fan.
Favorite Australian band of all time. Like,
oh my God,
yeah. I only ever got to see them once. That was the Across the Great Divide tour in 2007 with Powderfinger and Something with Numbers at the Wynn Entertainment Centre in Wollongong. But yeah.
That tour was amazing.
It was amazing, yeah. I've also seen Daniel John solo, and I've also seen what will probably be his final ever live show, which was when Dreams played at the Sydney Opera House.
I went to that. That was an incredible live show.
Fucking weird.
Yeah.
It was wild.
It was a trip.
Yeah. I just love what a fucking bizarre theatre kid fucking Luke Steele turned into. He is just a fascinating guy. I got a lot of time for that dude. Just no matter what the fuck he does next, I'm just like, count me in. Wherever the fuck you're headed, you acid wielding psycho, I'm all in. Count me in. But yeah, like yeah. I have so much love for all 5 Silverchair records, and it's like, yeah, like you know when you fucking shake a spray can, there's a little rattle, like that's me in just like every Silverchair song, like, you know, just it's all still there. I will forget the name of someone I met 2 days ago, but I can still sing all of fucking Steam Will Rise. You know, it's all still there. You know.
Oh my God, they're like a very important band to me. Did you get the chance to check out the exhibition last year that Daniel Johns did in Melbourne?
No, I didn't. Yeah, like I couldn't get down there.
My sister and I flew down for it, and it looked
pretty incredible.
It was. I remember you walk into the room and they had all the accolades on the wall from Frog Stomp to Future Never.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, this is a lot. And they had like tour programs. They had itineraries for tours, awards, platinum records, and then they had the glass cabinets that's all Daniel Johns' like school stuff, reports, books and stuff. And then you walk out to this car and they had the DeLorean, and you turn around and there's all of Daniel Johns' guitars above you.
Wow.
And like the Les Paul, the SG that he did for Straight Lines, and you know, like everything, the 72 Telly Deluxes that he had. And I was standing there, and I'd seen Silverchair. I think I'd seen him 6 times, and I saw Daniel twice. And I saw the Les Paul and I cried. Like like they were easily the band that got me heavily into music. My first purchase CD that I bought, funny enough, was the single to Anthem of the Year 2000.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, so like I had CDs like my first album I ever didn't buy was Hanson's Somewhere in Nowhere.
Oh, true.
Yeah, that was like the first album that my dad was like, you like music, you'll like this.
Yeah.
You know. And but
Wait,
yeah,
do you mean Middle of Nowhere?
Middle of Nowhere.
Yeah,
Sorry, my bad. I've not listened to that album probably since that CD, to be honest.
Holds the fuck up. There's some fucking tunes on there, dude.
But they're still
Dust Brothers
touring.
production is incredible. Like, you know, like they were just, because they were kids, they just had no like pretension about like, oh, should it sound like this? Should it sound like this? It's just like, we're gonna do fucking everything. We're 12. What the fuck are you gonna do? Let's go. And I love that. There's some fucking tunes on that record, man. I Will Come to You, fucking Lucy, Madeline.
I'll actually hit it up again because I properly haven't listened to that CD since, well, that album I should say, since I owned it. But
did you ever hear Tinted Windows?
No, not that I can recall the name of.
Okay.
Where's it from?
So Tinted Windows was a one-off supergroup in the late 2000s.
Yeah, no idea.
It was just real, like, throw at a fucking dartboard and see who you come up with, right? So it was Taylor Hanson on lead vocals,
Wow.
James Ehar on guitar,
Okay.
The late great Adam Schlesinger from Fountains of Wayne on bass, and Bunny Carlos from Cheap Trick on drums. And they made like a 70s style like power pop record, and it fucking rips.
All right.
It's so sick.
That and Hanson will be in my playlist this
Yeah,
week
dude,
without a
like,
doubt.
yeah.
That's the catch up I'm doing.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking good gear.
Oh, man.
Like, yeah, and there's no other way you can just say, oh yeah, the guy from Hanson made an album with fucking the guitarist from the Smashing Pumpkins and the drummer from Cheap Trick. All right, Grandma, let's get you to bed. Like, it's like, no, it really happened. It was like 15 years ago, but it really fucking happened.
Holy shit. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end this. Oh wait, no. Last thing. I've made a big note of like mentioning this, and I think this will be a great way to end it.
All right, here we go.
What is the best chip in Woolworths on the shelf?
Currently?
Yeah. So while you think like David has like a little reputation on his Instagram as well of reviewing potato chips.
Yes.
And yeah, my original plan was to get the raspberry flavored twisties, but I forgot. Have you had them yet?
God, no.
I
enjoy being alive.
It's like eating
Despite
drywall.
contrary belief, yeah.
My
Contrary to
manager
popular
and I
belief.
had a packet. He brought in a packet and I went, dude, can I try one? And he's like, do you want to? I went, not because I think it'll be good. Like I need to scratch curiosity.
Ugh.
And
Curiosity killed the fucking cat, man.
he had 4, I had 3, and we put the packet in the bin.
That's just like,
That was fan voted.
that's traumatic. Oh,
It's like eating cotton candy drywall.
Yeah, oh, that's so rough.
Yeah.
Man, like without like a list in front of me, it's fucking tough. Like there's been some really good ones. Like I tried one recently, which was a chili and lime chip, where the chips were cooked in avocado oil.
Oh, yeah.
And like, oh man, just like that extra crispness mixed with those specific flavors, like just sent me fucking mental. Like it was just such a good combo. I can't even remember the specific brand, but like, yeah, that was the most recent one that just absolutely fucking railroaded me. I'm a big fan of the Smith's like double crunchy ones, like the
cool.
barbecue ribs ones are pretty tight. Yeah, like in terms of like, yeah, like off brands, like in terms of like, yeah, like not your main sort of flavors. Like I think those are the ones that kind of come to mind.
What is Old Faithful? Like I'm a cheese and onion boy from Smith's at heart if I can't make my mind up.
Absolutely not. Smith's for sure. Like, yeah, barbecue. Smith's barbecue is like,
Fuck yeah.
yeah, that's your go-to. Like, yeah, for me, that is the epitome of just the perfect chip, you know. Honestly, man, like it's just like the flavor isn't overbearing, the crunchiness is just right. Like you know exactly what you're getting. Like, you know, you're not gonna grab in and it's just like, oh, what the fuck? They've changed the fucking recipe or whatever. It's just like, no, they know exactly what they've been doing. They've been doing it for fucking like decades.
That's actually a good point. Their chips have never changed flavor.
Yeah, it's consistent as shit. It's like
get
the
back in time and
it's like the AC/DC of chips, you know? It's just like, yeah, it's gonna taste like rock and roll. That's what it can fucking taste like, man.
It's going to taste like rock and roll. Holy shit.
Let's go.
Without a doubt. Well, David, look, thank you so much for joining me today, for giving up your time in your schedule. It was a big ask for you to travel all the way out to my place from where you reside. And I know that journey, I know that trek, and it means a lot that you were here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks a lot for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
Anything you want to plug before we bounce?
My asshole.
I know a store for that.
All right, fantastic.
There you have it, 327 gigs and over 2,000 artists that he's at least taken note of how many he's seen. That is fucking wild. And like, I really thought about this as I was listening back to the episode today. Think about this. Like, he counts festivals in that, and there's the amount of festivals that like, well, the amount of bands and artists that they have at some festivals with different stages and jumping from stage to stage. There's so many bands, so many acts that he's seen. Absolute true blue legend in the city scene. It was a delightful conversation. Thank you so much for getting this far. It means the world to me that you listened to it. We didn't give him a send-off, unfortunately, with a song like we did with Towns in the last episode. And that's because we were Brockless for this episode. That's right, Brock Whitten, our engineer in the Towns episode, couldn't make it for this one, but I do hope he will make it for future episodes. But sit back, relax for next week's episode. Next week, we got legends of Sydney in the doom metal scene, or in the metal scene in general, called Astro Death, sitting down talking about their latest album, Volume 2. Check that out between now and next week, and then come and listen to the episode. Thank you so much for listening to episode 2, getting this far in your lives. Have a great day.